Fenipe00 went ahead and asked a question. Would I mind showing off the fighting crafter design that I have right here from the previous video, the 5 crafter tricks in 4 minutes? Now, yes, I can actually showcase that with a couple builds, an idea of what you can use this for, as well as explaining why I prefer this design over a subtractor design right here. So let's strip all the way down back to the basics, starting with the crafter. So the crafter has the grid and then whatever item it's supposed to come out. When you power it, it'll output this item, in this case, a block of redstone dust. And it also outputs from a comparator the number of what I call filled slots, which is basically just the number that has an item inside of it. Of course, this doesn't just count the number of items, it also counts the number of slots, including locked ones. So you'll notice this is still outputting a signal strength of 9, even though there's only 8 items in it. That's because I've locked one of the slots. Now, if y'all were paying attention to the background, you'll also notice that this lamp was going on and off. Well, that's because of how redstone dust works. Redstone dust has a highest priority signal strength system. So as long as this was the highest signal strength, 9, then it will continue to output 9 and then go down all the way to 0, as y'all are probably used to. And if I flip this lever, which is going to pull redstone dust out of that crafter, you'll also notice that the observer actually detects when the signal strength changes. That's what the fighting crafter design really takes advantage of, is the fighting of 2 different signal strengths. So all the crafters on the backside have 8 slots locked, which means they're full. And that means that this signal strength in the middle between the 2 crafters will be 8. So as you fill these up, if your crafting recipe fills all of the slots, or except for the ones, of course, you've locked, it will output a 9. And in general, you should make sure that all of your recipes fill to 9. Anyways, for your crafter designs, it just makes things a little bit easier to work with and allow you to be a little bit more flexible in your designs longer term. So once this ticks over to 9, this signal strength will fly over, and that will be seen by this observer flowing into the barrel, powering this crafter. The barrel counts as a full block, so this observer will hard power it, allowing it to power the blocks adjacent to it. We could put lamps surrounding this barrel, for example, and it would still show off. Now, the other reason why this is incredibly useful, well, is because every time it's moving over, it will still check if it's 9 minus 1, which equals 8, is higher than 8. Well, it's not. It's the same, so it'll still output 8, meaning that these can also be tiled, even though you'll notice that the redstone dust is connecting. Now, of course, you might be saying, well, why don't I use this subtracting circuit design like we're used to seeing? Because if I flip this lever, allowing items to flow into this observer, you will notice this outputs a 1 when this one's out. This design is honestly useful, but it requires you to fit into these kind of corner configurations that sometimes are really hard to play with. And so, yes, this is a valid design, and I do use it from time to time, but if I'm wanting something that's tileable or easy to work with, then I really do prefer this fighting design that I've called it. A quick intermission to explain why I still use both this design when I also have this Speedy crafter, which allows us to take a faster volume of inputs without things getting stuck. If you have too many items flowing in at one time, these crafters will lock up. So this one does solve that problem, but it cannot be tiled. If we follow the chain of events, this observer still does the fighting crafter bit right here. This is where those 2 designs differ, in that it powers this redstone dust. This dust still connects right here, right here, right here, so you can't tile them in a traditional sense. You might be able to flip them or use other tiling techniques, but a normal tiling technique does not work with this Speedy crafter design. Instead, all 4 crafters will fire every single time one of them fills up. Now, one of my favorite things to use this crafter design for would be some kind of kelp farming system. And basically you'll throw a bunch of kelp in here, which is already flown through the system in the process of me recording the video, but you'll notice it's filling up these hoppers, and these fill up these hoppers, which go into our furnaces, and that goes into each one of these crafters. And if you pay attention long enough, you'll see them randomly firing off every single time they get enough items to execute. And then these jars all have dried kelp blocks inside of them. We'll go ahead and put some hoppers underneath, and you'll notice they all have dried kelp blocks. Now, the reason we have two different designs for these systems is sometimes you don't want a barrel underneath these, whether it be tightness, you maybe need to fit stuff in just the right order, or you just like the look of jars, okay? But in general, I prefer this kind of miniaturized design. The only difference between this design and this design is that I put the observers on the bottom, effectively cutting it in half. But it has the added benefit as well of removing the need for these blocks, which if you pay it, which all do get hard powered every time one of these fires. So you can see there are several problems with that. But if you like this video or have any questions, make sure to comment down below. Maybe you'll be featured in a future video. And make sure to support me on Ko-fi. That way I can continue doing more of these videos and ultimately maybe even launch some servers and stuff. I don't know what's going to happen. But without further ado, this is Negative Light signing out. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.